Hello.
Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Sarath Rajapakshe, I'm Jithendra from Global Media Networks. So today we thought of taking you up on video call to about the current situation of the stock market in Sri Lanka. What is your opinion on that?
Yes. Well, the market, as you can see, is weak. Market had a small uh, pickup that was first in anticipation of these that were hotly anticipated, mainly the sale of two main ships by EPF.
Right.
And now it has happened. And one transaction took place at 194, and then they sold Spence, and the JKH transaction realized over 14 billion rupees. Then they sold, there was a 20 million transaction on Spence. Now, with all this money, we expected some boom in the market, but for that to happen, EPF must reinvest its money in popular stocks, because it's at the end of the day, the market is moved by speculators, not by long-term investors or funds who buy it for the long term. They buy it and hold it for years. And that can't move markets. Markets are moved by active retailers or big players who speculate in the market, buy and sell. Now, that is absent. For that to happen, the retailers must come out of their margin constraints, which are preventing them from trading. Many, of course, the smallest retailers have lost all their capital during an year of declines. Now, of course, and a quarter of declines. The market has tumbled for an year, and since January 2011, the market was coming down, and that has virtually wiped out most of the small investors. Now we have to start, pumping money to them. There's no way that you can give to very small investors any money, because the little money they had already lost. But medium-sized investors could come back, provided they have an assurance or they have the confidence that the market is moving up. But unfortunately, the market has not, technically, of course, the market has seen a reverse or inverted head and shoulder neckline cut, which is a bullish signal, and there was every reason for the market to move up, but it's only the disappointment of the market that money that was expected didn't come. And every day the news that comes had not been that good for the market. Interest rates edge up, dollar tumbled to 130 and is now remaining there. And of course, once in a way, edging a little lower as well, and that's not a good sign. And moreover, uh, they, they are now eagerly awaiting the reinvestment of the sale of premier stocks by EPF. That has also not happened. Moreover, others who are capable of investing, like big state institutions with money, like say for instance Sri Lanka Insurance, Lotteries Board, which have huge amounts of changes are happening. Now, at the end of the last year, at the meeting with His Excellency the President, there was an agreement that certain things should be done, but none of those things have been done yet, and there is total disappointment in the market to this, slow implement or non-implementation of what was already agreed to by the head of state. So that's a very sorry state of affairs, and that won't help the market. You can see the market is virtually crippled.
And I have another question. This is with regards to now recently there had been concerns from stock investors and both stockbrokers about the latest ATS CSE not disclosing the amount of the cost of the upgrade. What do you think? Do you think the CSC and the officials are liable because it's for the investors to disclose this amount, and whether this new trading system it has to be further upgraded in a way such that it actually facilitate the investors to actively trade in the market?
So it's up to the brokerage firms which own the stock exchange. See, it's a company limited by guarantee, owned by the stockbrokers, the member
Yes.
firms.
Yes.
So member firms can't tell, CAC is not doing what we want them to do, or
Yeah.
they are doing things behind their back because it's their company. So it shows that there's some breakdown, communications breakdown between the owners of the CSC and the executives of the CSC, which is a very sad thing. CSC is owned, and in fact it is to be soon demutualized and made into a normal company. See, in other parts of the world, there are limited liability companies, and many of them are being actively traded at the stock market. The stock exchange management company is also traded in the same stock exchange. And so it's not many people feel that the stock exchange is owned by the government. Government has a couple of representatives by invitation, but it's owned by the member firms. So member firms coming and telling us that stock exchange is not doing what we want them to do is a bit of a funny situation. It's like see the directors of or rather the shareholders of John Keys saying John Keys is doing not doing what they want them to do. See, they are the people who own it.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a joke, It's like passing the buck. If you don't have proper control, I mean, you have to admit that we don't have any control. But then once you own the institution, you can't say that the institution is being run in a way that they are unable to control it, which is a very sorry state.
And one more question. Now that what do you see the growth of our economy and how the market will react to the
economic growth? Now, see, it's true that central bank has reduced their estimates for 2012 down from 8 to 7%. But then 7% itself is really good, and especially when it comes after an 8%, 8.2 growth the previous year is really good. Show me one other country apart from perhaps China and India where you have a similar growth rate. There aren't any. Most of the European and North American economies are growing marginally, 0.1%, 1%, 2%. For them, a 2% growth is a great victory. But here in Sri Lanka, we have been maintaining a record growth rate. So, economy, there is no problem. though we have some problems with the exchange rate and interest rate, which have been created by, it's our own creation. There was no need to hike the interest rates because the inflation was easy. And there was no need to devalue the rupee because there was general perception that rupee was fairly valued. Now, of course, it's going down because of expectations of further devaluations. Our currency is not, the exchange rate is not determined through trading. So they go by what the Treasury and the central bank prompts them to be the rupee. But if you really look at the rupee, if you allow it to trade freely with no exchange controls, rupee will really appreciate to, close to 100, because there will be a huge influx of foreign Sri Lankan holdings coming into Sri Lanka. Now, because if you bring it, you can't take it back because of exchange control.
Right. And now the way the market is moving, do you think that what exactly we should do to get the retailers on board? Retailers and much.
A similar crash occurred in Bangladesh when the government asked measures.
Mr. Rajapaksha, now that at recent times we have seen the retail interest has been very, very low. And in fact, it actually affects the market. What is your opinion in that, and what is the solution to get these retailers back to the market? What we should do as, let's say, as stockbrokers as well as investors?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, you have quite correctly identified the weakness in our market uh, uh, is made to the absence or the shortage of retailers who were keeping this market moving during 30 years of war and thereafter. 2 years, 2009 and 2010, when Sri Lankan market became world's number two best performing market. That movement was done mainly by the retailers. And these enthusiastic retailers were smothered during the repression in latter part of 2010 and mainly in 2011. They lost a lot of money. They practically lost all their savings. And retailers don't have access to huge, reserves of capital. They have only their EPF money, ETF money, pensions, savings, what they withdrew from their savings accounts and brought to the market. Now, once you lose this, they have they can't replenish it, and that is their problem. That is why the market remains weak, because the retailers don't have money. They can't simply, unless somebody lends them money, not for margin, because they don't have any portfolio also. And if at all they have a portfolio, they are constrained by margins and can't borrow against their portfolios. So therefore, they have to perhaps mortgage their properties, or I don't know, beg, borrow or steal, and then come and play in the market. And that's the tragic situation. The retailers are without money. And these big boys, playing with big aristocratic blue chips, doing crossings, doesn't help the market at all. We saw that we saw a massive transaction running into 14, 15 billion rupees during the past week or so, and well, market remains weak again. That is because the markets are moved by speculation, not by buying and holding. Buying and move markets. You buy once and you hold it for 1 year. That kind of activity when there are no retailers. So we'll have to find the retailers. Of course, having said that, the the light at the end of the tunnel is that in Sri Lanka, less than 0.5%, right?
Yeah.
Less than 0.5% of the eligible population are playing in the market or were playing in the market. Whereas in developed countries, it is about 30 to 60 to 70% of the over 18s. So there is a massive, a reserve of people who are capable of coming to the market, provided there is high pressure marketing by the brokers. But then again, that is a talent which is, hard to come by. This kind of huge marketing operations are hitherto unknown to the brokerage industry.
Secondly, this would be the last question as well. Now that we have seen
Yeah.
nearly over 300 dollars of millions of foreign investments coming to our local economy for the last couple of days, in terms of bonds, in terms of investments in stock market. But on the other hand, we have also seen the rupee reaching the lowest in its history, something like 132 rupees per dollar. So, in this scenario, what would you see the prospectus of our economy? How the stock market inflows are affecting the market and the currency market of Sri Lanka, and also how we could actually see a sort of a balance?
Up to now you have seen, we have seen that there has been some stability in the rupee at the 130s,
Yeah.
and the truth is, though these purchases were made, they were made with rupees, but dollars came to the custodial banks, and the banks naturally would wait to cash these dollars. They don't immediately cash the dollars and convert them to rupees. If they have rupee reserves, they'll use that. If they anticipate that the dollar might strengthen more, but once they see that the dollar is not going up any more, then they will aggressively convert their dollars to rupees, and that is when the rupee will appreciate. So there will be a rupee appreciation when all the money that came through the sale of JKH spends is converted to rupees. The rupee will strengthen, and then those people, even the exporters who are delaying the conversion of their dollars to rupees, will panic and will start aggressively buying rupees, sending the rupee even higher. So it looks as if we have seen a near-term bottom in the rupee, and rupee is likely to appreciate go on. But of course, rupee at these levels have brought in a lot of benefits, economic benefits. Weak rupee is that our exports have become competitive. Now, ours is an export-driven economy. Garment exports, we have service exports, in the form of people working in the Middle East mainly, and then we have the tea rubber exports. Now, all these, when converted, the income, dollar incomes, when converted to rupees, now will be very high. So you see that it will ease the trade deficit by boosting exports, and also because of the expensive dollar, there'll be some resistance to buy imported goods. So there'll be an improvement in the balance of payments as well as the improvements in the balance of trade.
Right. I think so. I thank you for your comments on our questions. We actually hope you to
You're
get
welcome.
on a daily basis on the market forecast from probably tomorrow. So we'll get on hold
Oh
of
yeah,
you.
you're free to call me anytime.